Old. They said it couldn't be done back then. You can't fight off the British. We kicked their butts. Now they're our best friends. What's happened, you know?
We kicked their butts. We left.
We kicked their butts. We kicked their butts. What are you talking about? So, a lot of things going on in sports. Welcome to From the Pressbox. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard. You know what I remember about 4th of July, Tim?
Tell me.
When we were kids, remember our next-door neighbors, the Carpets?
Yes. How can I forget them?
One year, I was 7 or 8 or something, Mr. Carpet had like a boatload of firecrackers. Not
the illegal kind.
No, the illegal kind. So, I don't know how I ended up in the backyard. Maybe I was talking to Kathy, I don't know. So, all of a sudden, he's just thrown literally firecrackers for like 20 minutes into a garbage can, shooting off, bottle rockets. It was a great moment. I still remember it very vividly. Except I don't remember how I ended up over there.
That's the only part you don't remember vividly.
Yeah. So
gotcha.
But hey, it was a fun thing to watch, and he did blow his hand off, which is very important. Because some people...
He should have hung out with... He should have been like Jason Pierre-Paul's fireworks guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if thinking about JP, not JP Peltzman, of course.
Not JPP.
Yeah, JPP, today's the day to remind people not to blow off your hand.
Well, yeah.
Because that's
a rather blunt way of saying it, but yeah.
Have you seen his hand?
It's
kind of healed up.
It's gnarly.
It's still gnarly a year later.
Well, it's not going to grow back.
No, I'm not saying it's going to, but it still looks like someone.
Yeah, that's what happens when you blow your hand up.
Right, but it wasn't like he had like four firecrackers in it. He must have like M80s and cherry bombs.
A large firework was what I remember reading back then, which I assume was an M80. But it was something bigger than your standard little tiny firework.
Yeah, well, it was amazing that he blew the rest of his hand off. Anyway, lots of things happening. All of a sudden, let's start off with the Knicks. There's the NBA free agency going on right now. People are talking about, whether they're correct, I don't know, hey, the Knicks are going to be a better team this year.
Better, yes.
How can they not be, first of all?
Well, yeah, they won 32 games last year.
Right,
it's hard not to be better.
But the Knicks went a little crazy. Well, not crazy, but they have done some signings. Or about to sign, because technically can't sign until the 7th.
It's July 7th, yeah. That is correct, Thursday.
But they've made some trades. Derrick Rose is now a member of the team. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
I've been reading more about Derrick Rose, and the more I read, the less happy I am.
Well, I think if he can play and not get hurt, which is the main thing.
He needs to be healthy. He needs to regain his speed and his ball handling, and he needs to be the point guard that he was. Because last year, the various metrics that they use in the NBA now said that he was one of the least effective point guards in the NBA. Now, you could say that still might go back to his knee injury or that he doesn't feel comfortable, but we're going to be several years removed from his ACL surgery when this season starts, and he needs to be Derrick Rose again if he's ever going to be Derrick Rose.
Right, he has a 1-year contract left, right?
1 year left on his deal.
So he has a lot to prove, which is always a good thing.
He's got his career to prove.
Right, so that's a good thing for the Knicks. I mean, he'll be trying harder. He'll probably play through some pain at least.
Players tend to rise up in the last year of their contract, and that goes for any sport. You'll notice baseball, Carlos Beltran is a perfect example. He's having a great season for the Yankees this year, and lo and behold, he's in the last year of his contract. What a shocker.
What a shock, is right. So, but at least Carmelo Anthony gets someone to play with. Besides Chris Porzingis.
Well, he at least gets somebody who knows how to run an offense. Whether Derrick Rose can do that effectively again remains to be seen, but at least the Knicks now have somebody who, in theory, they can trust with the offense, and he will get things done. Now, the problem with Derrick Rose is he's one of those kind of shoot-first point guards. So it's not like he's going to necessarily be a facilitator all the time. He likes to get his own shot. Now, how Carmelo is going to respond to that remains to be seen. Because, I mean, let's face it, the Knicks over the last decade or so, the point guards have been pretty much terrible. The one time that they had a point guard who was kind of headstrong and was looking for a shot was when Jeremy Lin took over for those, 20 or 30 games, and Carmelo was hurt. But then when he came back, he was very vocal in his disapproval of how Jeremy Lin was playing, because Lin was taking shots. He was running the offense. And again, not necessarily like a traditional point guard. He was running the offense like he was a very big part of scoring points. Carmelo wants a point guard who will defer to him.
And we should say that that's one of the reasons why Jeremy Lin just signed with the Nets, not the Knicks.
Well, I mean, he wasn't going to sign with the Knicks because there's no way that Carmelo Anthony would have put his seal of approval on that.
There you go, right there.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Okay. The conversation never would have happened.
I know that. I'm just saying that if Carmelo Anthony wasn't on that team, there might have been a chance that Jeremy Lin could be something.
Maybe, but again, I mean, you're talking Phil Jackson, the triangle offense, and then that's another factor. And I don't know how comfortable.
Phil, I think he's got to the point. Yeah, he's going to try the triangle still, but you know what? He's in his third year of his contract. It's a 4-year deal. He is praying either this is the season or I leave.
Well,
and he doesn't want to go out as a loser. He wants to go make the playoffs. Now, if they go in one series now, he doesn't care.
But
he can say, they were attending when I left.
But this is my argument with Knicks fans, and people online are calling me a hater, and
a hater,
and all this nonsense. But let's just say the Knicks, for example, wind up with, say, the 7th seed in the East.
Okay.
Does it represent progress? Yeah, I guess it does. But where is this team going the season after next? Where are they going in 2017-18?
I think, as we are New Yorkers, and we don't like rebuilding as much as other cities do.
I don't mind rebuilding if there's a light at the end of the tunnel. With the Knicks, there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
But one of the things about the Knicks right now is that they make the playoffs this season. It's so much better than the last few seasons, and I think that's so important for Phil Jackson because he wants to show that he can make the playoffs.
But again, I don't think that making the playoffs per se is a great thing.
I know, because you talked about the Yankees and making the wild card and then losing, and who really cares?
It's garbage.
But you know what? The team thinks that, and many fans think of it too. That's okay.
But as far as the NBA goes, and let me step back a second here, because if you remember when the Knicks announced the trade for Derrick Rose, Phil Jackson was very adamant that we're going after Kevin Durant.
Right.
Well, have the Knicks been anywhere in the Kevin Durant talks?
No.
No.
Haven't heard anything since
Kevin Durant is having meetings in the Hamptons. All right?
Right.
He's having meetings with the Golden State Warriors.
In the Hamptons?
He's having meetings with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Does he ever play that?
Who knows? He will if he doesn't. He's going to be getting a contract for somewhere in the neighborhood of about $140, $150 million.
Wow.
So yeah, he could buy a place in the Hamptons. But the Knicks are not part of these discussions. Durant is supposed to make an announcement today as far as where he's going to play.
And
yeah, well, this fast. Most of the free agents are signed already. It's fast. The NBA. This is the good thing about the NBA and the NHL, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But these free agency periods, it's a total chaotic situation where players are just signed at a rapid fire rate. And I was thinking about this last night and comparing it to baseball, where you're waiting months before the top guy even starts considering teams, and all this nonsense about waiting for a market to build, and nobody wants to take the first offer, and it takes so long. It's maddening.
Because of agents like Scott Boras?
Probably,
because Boras will never take the first offer.
Well, but this is when you have salary caps. This is what I'm getting to. You have to spend the money quickly, because the players know if they wait for a deal, and if they sit around and say, well, I don't like that offer, I'm going to hold my guns or whatever, and stick to my guns and say, all right, I want more. Well, there might not be anybody who has more, and then you have to accept a lesser contract. In baseball, that doesn't exist. The market just keeps going up and up and up. So with basketball, basically, the money is going to be about the same. So it's just a matter of picking where you want to play. So Joakim Noah, for example, wanted to come to New York.
You like that deal?
He's going to be in it.
I don't like the money he's getting. I don't think he's worth the money.
Well, I mean, if you judge by his stats, he's probably not. But
$18 million a year?
He was injured last season.
That's a lot.
It is, but you look at Dwight Howard, who got 3 years for $70 million from the Atlanta Hawks, which is actually his hometown team. He grew up in Atlanta.
But that's different because Dwight Howard's actually proven something.
What has he proven? He's proven he's kind of a jerk.
Wow.
In the last few seasons, he really hasn't been that effective. He's supposed to be this defensive, stopper kind of guy, force in the middle, and he really hasn't been. His offensive game has regressed because in part because he played with James Harden, who is not a great teammate. He might be a great scorer, but the guy dribbles for 15 or 20 seconds off of the shot clock, and if he can't find his own shot, then he's going to pass you the ball with 4 seconds left on the shot clock, and then you have to put up a shot really quick.
Right.
So that's not a good teammate. But I don't see Dwight Howard as being that elite type center anymore, and he's only getting older. So that's why he only signed a 3-year deal. I think he wants to see if he can get one more contract. And again, the salary cap will be going up considerably next year.
Right.
So
I mean, it went up this year too.
Yeah, it went up
next year,
pretty significantly, but next year it's making.
And what do you think? What do you think of the Knicks also signing Courtney Lee, 4 years, $50 million?
I don't understand this.
I don't either.
At all. But this is the money that's getting thrown around. Courtney Lee, who played for the Nets a few years back and was like a backup guard. All right, 4 years, $50 million. I actually looked at Courtney Lee's stats from last year. His high scoring game was 18 points. He averaged 9.6 points per game last year, and in today's NBA, that's worth $12.5 million a year.
Yeah.
This free agency period, it's like Oprah. It's like Oprah with the cars. It's like, you get $10 million. You get $10 million.
But you know what? They have all this money flowing around, so they might as well do something.
Why can't they reduce ticket prices a little bit?
Because they don't do that, because the players in the league have a contract that they have to spend a certain amount of money, don't they?
No, well, it's all based on revenue. Why not give the fans a little bit of a break?
I agree. You know what I like?
Why not say, hey, Spike Lee, you don't have to pay $5,000 for a ticket anymore. You only have to pay $4,600.
His company, I'm sure, pays.
Well, whichever, but
you know what I'd like to see. We mentioned this a few weeks ago. The Falcons are moving to a new stadium, and
the Atlanta Falcons football.
Yeah,
talking about. We put in sports.
Well, and what they're doing is they're having like cheap hot dogs and soda, and other food things with the concession.
I like that, especially today.
Yeah.
Hot dogs and soda.
It's going to be a refillable cup.
Well, that's your favorite kind.
It is. So I mean, that's a pretty good thing. So and it's going to be cheap too. The hot dog's like $2.50 or something. So it's a good thing to see that happening. When I read that hot dog, I think it was it Yankee Stadium or Citi Field, like $6.25 or something. I don't know.
It's probably more than that.
For a hot dog?
Probably more like $8 or $9.
Me and Rob Tuck when the Mets game, he had 4 days. It was $3 a hit.
It's not like the old days.
Man, that's a lot of money, man.
Well, yeah.
So anyway,
Beer Shea Stadium costs $12.
That's why you got to hit before you go in. You go out, if you're in your car, you hang out a little bit, you put a little JD in the cup of Coke.
Oh man, look at them. Don't endorse that.
But that's what happens though. When it's so expensive, when beer's $12, people are just going to hit before they go in.
People might do that. Don't tell them that you do it.
I have done it.
Oh man, you're not listening to me.
I have done it. One time I should have been kicked out of the garden.
Let's not talk about that.
That was something else. So anyway, so the next, Noah, Courtney Lee, now it's Derrick Rose, Carmelo, and Kristaps. That's the starting five.
That's the starting five.
That's not a bad starting five.
It's not a horrible starting, but again, assuming Derrick Rose approaches his elite status from a few years ago,
right?
Assuming that Joakim Noah can score more than 5 points a game,
right?
Who knows how many shots he's going to get? Most of his shots will come on offensive rebounds because they're not going to go through him for the offense too often.
Sure.
And how does having all of these? I mean, Courtney Lee is going to need to get shots because he is a shooter, and Rose and Melo will probably take 25 shots a game. Right. So what is this going to do to Porzingis? That's my biggest concern as far as these Knicks go. because he is still a developing player.
And he won't be set up to be a better player because of all these other players.
I mean, I think the Knicks, and especially the new coach, our boy Jeff Hornacek, I think they need to make sure that Porzingis is getting at least 10 or 15 shots a game. And he needs to have this conversation with his players and make sure that Porzingis sees the ball. Because let's face it, he's going to be a power forward, all right? He's 7'3". There's not a guy in the league he doesn't have a size advantage against. So the Knicks need to make sure that they get the ball inside to him, and also outside, and they need to take advantage of his jumper. I mean, he's a very unique kind of player. He's like Dirk Nowitzki, except he's bigger.
Right.
So they need to take advantage of that. They can't have Melo and Derrick Rose hogging the ball like pretty much everybody thinks they will, and I'm certainly among that crowd.
Well, I sort of agree with you, but I also think that if Melo's wise, I'm not sure if that's the case, but he might realize that, you know, this coming season might be his last big one in the show, because if the Knicks crap out again, you know, you might as well get rid of him.
Well, I thought they should have done that this year.
I agree.
But see, here's what the problem with the Knicks next year.
I like Carmelo, but, you know.
Here's what the problem with the Knicks. Even if Derrick Rose does play well, all right, now he's a free agent after next year. Is he going to want to stay in New York? And if he does, you still need to improve this roster to become a real serious contender.
No, yeah.
And none of the top free agents, like the real top, like the Durant.
They're not beating Cavaliers.
But they're not coming to New York. Those players, we have to accept the fact that this myth about playing at the Garden, it's the mecca of basketball, it doesn't matter as far as free agents go. The Knicks will get decent free agents, like Noah. I think is a pretty good signing. I agree with you as far as is the money a little bit much. Yes, it is. But Noah also brings some intangibles. He'll get in players' faces. He'll be that conscience for the team that they really haven't had in a long time, not since Carmelo. Carmelo's not a team conscience. Carmelo is just like, make sure I get my 25 shots, and the rest of it I don't care about. So he'll be like that. I'm looking forward to the first time when Noah yells at Carmelo on the court.
You always need a Charles Oakley on you.
Yeah, exactly. He's that kind of guy.
Anyway, we're taking a break right now. We're talking sports from the Pressbox right here on 90.3 FM, WHPC, streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC, also at tunein.com. Search WHPC. If you have a comment or question, the phone line's open, 516-572-7440.
WHPC 90.3 FM, the radio voice of Nassau Community College, is looking for individuals, businesses, charities, or organizations in our local global community that would like to donate.